Alright, another vlog for day 3 of training, 4th episode of the vlog, I think. What did we do today? It was a lot of rolling practice, Jiu Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Apologies if the camera is shaking, that's because I am shaking. I need to go get some water, get some food, drink some orange juice or something. But let's see, it was primarily after the conditioning, the warm-up, the shadow boxing and all that, we went into, well, they taught how to go from an opponent's ground guard into your own side control. And honestly, I'm not good enough at describing what it is, the sequence of moves that were required for that. It basically involved getting out of their head clinch, posturing the body so that they can't grab the head again, then essentially finding leverage on their leg to flip it out, and getting your knees up by their head and hip and controlling their shoulder from behind their head with your arms. I'm sure to anyone who hasn't done side control that doesn't make any sense, and to someone who has done side control, I guarantee you have a better way of explaining it than I did. But after drilling that for a while, we went into just free-form rolling, and that was so tough. Like, first off, the first thing that was really hard about it was not just the fact that everyone I was going with just had their leverage, knew where to throw me, and just threw me off balance entirely, but when they get their weight on your chest and on your diaphragm, and you can feel their weight compressing the air out of your body, the idea of how do I keep moving is so tough. In the last video, I talked about how breathing more was the key to keep moving and keep acting, and that makes a lot of sense from standing up in striking position. But, you know, even though you do still need to breathe, and that's very important for when you're rolling, you also got to figure out how to stay calm, not not exhale all of your air while you're rolling on the ground. And you got to know how to keep up the resistance, keep the force moving when you aren't breathing. And that's insane. That fighting while calmly maintaining breath inside your body and getting into that opportunity to keep breathing, at another time, because I found that if their weight was on me and I exhaled, I had no air and I couldn't do anything. And it was a lot. Like, I know they say Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is all about, like, the engineering, the fulcrums, the angles, and it 100% is, but there is a lot of strength that is involved in that as well. Lots of core ab work and backs, and the hip flexors and everything to get, it's a lot of twisting. Whew, I'm so not used to it, but even with just getting completely tossed around, that eventually I was starting to get a little bit of a good idea, and one of the senior students who was rolling with me was very helpful. He threw me around to sort of give me a feel for where my positioning was weak, and then I am 100% sure that he was doing lighter resistance and was allowing me the time to figure out, and I got him into an armbar, and he 100% let me get him into that armbar, I could tell. But he did give resistance and he made me work for it, so that was very appreciated. I guess I could say that this class came at a really great time, because I went and I talked to 2 of my friends at the nerd coffee night that I mentioned. one of my friends is in the Air Force, and he does a lot of martial arts, did a lot of wrestling. My other Air Force friend who did wrestling was busy playing a board game, but he basically went down, explained that the sort of the first few sessions of rolling, the first few weeks of rolling, is mostly just getting thrown around by older students who want to practice what they're trying to learn. And I got lucky that one of the older students that was working with me likes to learn by teaching. So that's actually both of the older students I was with did the same method for me. And yeah, and that was helpful just in the sense that it prepared my expectations. I also had another friend who was who used to compete. I think it was in kickboxing, something like that. Also give me some advice about how to basically get accustomed to how different rolling, how different grappling on the ground is. So I went into this class knowing that I wasn't going to be at my peak, especially when I found out we were mostly doing grappling. And I came out of it still not feeling, at peak condition, and I don't think I'm ever going to feel at peak condition for the rest of this month. But, my elbow hurt less than it did at the end of last Friday's class. And I think that is what I can write down as progress. So, until the vlog for after tonight. Alright, everyone. Unfortunately, I am going to go ahead and say that I am not going to be going to the class this evening, just because of the way I'm feeling. I developed this really bad headache after class this morning. It kind of started maybe 2 hours after class ended, and I'm pretty sure it might be because of all of the straining and the I guess you could say the effort that went into rolling when I was completely unused to it. And I know the solution to that long term is to keep practicing, do it more, get my body conditioned to adapt to it. But I've taken painkillers, I've gotten hydrated, and the pain it hasn't reduced really at all. And I can still feel it. It's all around the temples here. Feels muscular, but I don't know. So yeah, not going to class tonight, even though my intent was to go to every single class throughout the month. The elbow is fine, honestly, right now. It's mostly just a strength thing. I don't know. I'm just not feeling good enough to do it. And so the evening will be spent with the regular standard hobbies of sitting my arse down, drinking water to stay hydrated, waiting for the hour when I can take some more painkillers, and playing games, maybe watching some shows. A regular relaxing evening rather than the evening of going and getting beaten up by people who are better at fighting than me. Oh well. I'm kind of disappointed in myself, but then again, I know that if I go, the only thing that's going to happen is the moment that I get on the mat and we start doing the warm-ups, like the head's just going to start pounding from moment one, and then by the end of the class, I'm going to be like, I might even get to the point of just, up chucking all over the gym, and that wouldn't be great. Because when I get headaches, I don't get headaches very often, but when I do, they get really intense. And I know they're not migraines, because I used to get migraines back when I lived in LA, but those stopped when I moved back to Nebraska, where things are less stressful and the air isn't 50% smog. But yeah, that's all. I guess as to make up for it, let me go ahead and mention something um, from the first day of class that I didn't get to, just because I was kind of just going off of the endorphins and the feeling, the post class feeling, and I guess I kind of want to point out how. Uh, I guess the quality of the instruction that I'm getting at this place, because it's actually really good. And sorry, I kind of need my camera there. One factor that is a really important indicator about how good a teacher you have in terms of martial arts is whether or not the instructor actually gets into the mix with you and instructs you, from that personal engagement standpoint. It shows that they're keeping up their own training as best they can, and it really gives them a hands-on opportunity to give instruction, correct mistakes, things like that. And so, essentially, an instructor that doesn't get in with their students, in my opinion, is not necessarily someone who is going to be giving you the knowledge that they have learned, because sometimes with physical practices, words just aren't enough to describe what it's like. They need to get in there, they need to physically show you what to do, in order for your body to be able to learn the right way to practice in the future. And on the very first day that I was with this school, we doing the randori practice, the light sparring. The instructor did something very a little unexpected to me, which made me a little nervous, but it was fine. Which was essentially, he started by he gave me the large boxing gloves. He had a pair of his own, and he basically just put his hands behind his back, tucked his chin in, and like told me to go ahead and touch touch the gloves to his head, to give him some very light pops, is to sort of demonstrate that he wasn't getting hurt, that I was maintaining control and it was fine. And then after that, he told me to go ahead and put my hands behind my back and let myself get popped, in the chin, the nose, the head, what have you, so that he could show me that there was uh, nothing to really react to, nothing scary or bad happening. Basically describing to me, showing me physically that the practice was not dangerous, or at least there was no reason to feel like you were getting harmed by the practice, because it's not designed to do that. The intention is not to cause harm to training partners. And so he showed me hands on right at the start, you're not hurting me, I'm not hurting you. We're working together to get down the technique, to practice the structure, to get the flow of the combat and our ability to look and plan and respond, to practice all of those aspects. And I thought that was really, really insightful. Not just in the fact that it was hands on and it was hands on from the start, but that he very specifically had to be on the receiving end first. He decided to take the punches first so that it didn't feel, because he didn't really know what my history was at that point. He asked it at the end of class, but he didn't know my history at that point. And so he was essentially going from the position of I knew absolutely nothing, which is correct. I knew absolutely nothing. And he took it from that position and basically said, here's how we're going to start, and I'm not going to put you at risk at all in order to begin. I can see in a different situation that if an instructor were to introduce someone to that practice to the concept of light sparring by making them take punches, the only response you would get might be that initial anger, because they may not know that they're not actually getting hurt. They may think that because it's unpleasant, because it feels bad, that something worse might be coming and respond accordingly. I guess I'm kind of just thinking right now about that episode of King of the Hill where Bobby takes a women's self-defense course, fights a bully below the belt at school. The bully stops picking on him, but then Hank Hill, really conservative dad, is like, no, have honor, fight above the belt, otherwise people will disrespect you, and essentially takes him into the garage and starts popping his son like it's nothing, and then Bobby gets mad, kicks him in the groin, and collapses Hank Hill's testicles into his body. Man, that was a hilarious episode, especially when Bobby went from being sorry that he hurt his dad to realizing that the dad couldn't do anything to punish him anymore, so he just became just the worst person. It was a great episode. Anyway, I feel I feel a little disappointed in myself that I'm not in the condition that I need to be to go and train right now. I hope to make up for it tomorrow by doing some shadow boxing, doing maybe 30 minutes to an hour of shadow boxing, just pure cardio conditioning tomorrow morning, and trying to get on with the rest of my day and get back to the classes come Wednesday. And I know you're seeing this video out of time because it's always being posted the day after. So anyways, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. YouTube things, whatever. I'm sure if you want to keep watching, you know what to do by this point. Have a good night, and as always, stay true.